This is Matthew Holt, thrilled to be on with my great friends in the world of healthcare and health IT. This is Margaret Laws. So since I last had Margaret on stage, which I think was a couple of years back at Health 2.0, just this summer she's been on a long vacation in Europe. Well, not really. What she's really been doing is getting a new job. Margaret's new role is CEO of Hopelab. Most people who know about Hopelab know it comes out of the Omidyar family, the eBay money, and it's a foundation which has been looking at games and gaming, particularly with regard to children's health. So, Margaret, you were running the Innovation Fund and Healthcare for the Underserved, the California Healthcare Foundation. Now you're at Hopelab. Why the switch, and what are you going to be doing?
Well, thank you, Matthew. And I was only a short trip to Europe, unfortunately, but I came back and have been excited to dive into the work at Hopelab. So, as you said, I spent 17 years at the California Healthcare Foundation, which was great, but time to go on to new horizons. So, I spent the last 5 years. As I think you and many folks who are watching this know, starting and running the CHCF Health Innovation Fund, where we're basically investing in companies in healthcare technology and healthcare services, bringing them into settings with low-income people. So bringing them into Medicaid managed care, the healthcare safety net, and a lot of work in that arena in digital health and healthcare technology. And what took me to Hopelab, what I was excited about was, like CHCF, Hopelab is a very interesting platform. It has historically developed new digital health companies, but it also funds really interesting and rigorous research, and also has money to work on policy issues and to really try to take on market failure in areas where we've got a lot of unmet needs. So Hopelab focuses on using technology to improve health and wellness for kids and young adults. And more recently, a lot of work in the area of improving resilience. So resilience for caregivers like nurses or teachers. And all of this work is rooted in neuroscience and behavioral science, behavior change research. The programs that have been developed out of that often have technology as an enabler. So I thought it was a really interesting opportunity to join an organization that has a platform like CHCF that really takes advantage of a diverse range of funding streams, funding research, funding policy, funding innovative companies and services, and also works on trying to meet unmet needs in the healthcare system. So new focus for me on kids and young adults, and it's an interesting area to learn some new things and try to apply the things that I did at the Healthcare Foundation.
So that's really thrilling. Let's talk a little bit about what Hopelab was before you got there, because you mentioned resilience, but probably best known for a couple of games. So one of them is Remission, which is for kids with cancer, and the other one's Zamzy, which is more of a sort of, we say Fitbit for kids to get in trouble, but it's sort of health and steps for kids. Give me a sense a little bit about, when you came, as day one, as you're only on day, I think, 15 or something now, but when you came, what was the organization doing, and give me the flavor of the kind of both research and games it's been producing over the last couple of years.
Right. So Matthew, as you noted, Hopelab started out and really spent the first 8 or 10 years working in succession on 2 different products. The first one was Remission, which is a game for kids with cancer that was based on some very interesting neuroscience research, really looking at how to help kids initially solve the problem of having kids take their chemo drugs once they got into remission so that they didn't fall out and have another episode. But what was learned about that in the research was really about how the narrative of the game and the architecture of the game could help kids gain agency and gain power and control over their condition. And so that research, once Remission was done for kids with cancer, a really important group, but not a big group, the Hopelab turned its sights to working on something that would impact potentially a much larger group of kids. And so Zamzy was developed as a platform to improve and increase physical activity with the goal of kind of intervening around the problems of childhood obesity and just lack of activity. So the Zamzy platform used many of the same elements. It was a sensor. It was interesting. It was an early innovator in a sensor that actually captured very quick bursts of activity. So the time that the Zamzy sensor was developed, the sensors that were out there on the market were capturing activity, but in 2 minutes or something like that. This took it way down. So you could capture quicker bursts of activity and then put on this gaming and incentive layer to really engage kids and to get them moving, dancing, running, walking. And Zamsi was created, I don't know if you recall this, but Hopelab did a competition to actually build Zamsi called Ruckus Nation, and I think had more than 400 submissions, a really big response to this challenge of trying to get kids more active. So the product that was built, Zamsi, has been basically being piloted and iterated and studied since then. We've had a couple of studies published on the BMI and hemoglobin A1C effects of kids being active with Zamsi. And we will hopefully be having some news later this year about a broader application of Zamsi out in the market. The most recent work, the last 2 or 3 years, the kind of things that were captured from remission and Zamsi, the commonalities among these behavior change applications was really in this sense of building resilience and of this concept of resilience that's about purpose, connection, and control. And so a lot of the work that's gone on over the past couple of years has been looking at how this application of resilience can both be built out and then supported, often with a technology application of some sort of an app or a integration with a workflow in a healthcare setting, or with curriculum in an education or teaching setting, and then basically studying that, looking at changes in a behavior or job satisfaction of nurses or teachers working with kids. So a lot of the work recently has been really experimental in nature. Hopelab's gone from everyone working on one thing, first remission and then Zamsi, to people working on a wide range of sort of tests and experiments around resilience. Now, with my arrival, and the organization was at this inflection point, we're stepping back. We want to actually go out to the market in healthcare and look at where we can return to some of the work that we did with remission and Zamsi, hopefully developing or refining applications for kids and young adults in the healthcare setting. Also go out to the education setting and begin to look at how we can integrate some of the work we've done on resilience with the work on using technology for health and wellness for kids and young adults.
Very cool. So let's give me a bit of a sense of what the organization looks like now. How many people? What kinds of people you have? And then what are you going to have to do to get it to that? Well, I mean, perhaps you could say a bit more about what that next level means. I know I'm asking you questions early in your tenure, but I assume you had some conversations about this.
So we've got 25 people now, and that's about the size. The organization's been about that size most of its existence. The folks here are a combination of researchers who are typically behavioral science. The head of R&D is a neuroscientist and a physician, but works on behavioral science. And there's a few other sort of PhD behavioral science researchers. A lot of the work Hopelab does and has done is on user-centered design. So we also have people who are focused on the sort of process of user-centered design. So taking the research and then using that research in a design process to work with an organization to design an intervention, whether that's a technology application or a service intervention. We then have the usual, SysOps group that does all the internal work. We're a foundation, but we're not a grant-making foundation. We're more of an operating foundation. So we are funded by the Omidyar Group to carry out our work. And we often partner with outside organizations. So we also have a group of people who do partnership work, who work with other foundations. And as we move forward, I think more frequently with healthcare institutions or systems and education systems to put together partnerships around the pilots and the kind of implementation and proof of concept work that we'll be doing.
So again, I don't know how much of this is you're obviously there to operate as well as to, it's not just your personal plaything, but you've come from a long history of looking at issues with the underserved. Obviously kids are one group who have with 50% of kids being born, I believe 50% of kids born in California are under the Medicaid program, and so there's a huge constituency there. Obviously, there are people, pediatricians across the state, Nadine Burke in San Francisco, working with, you've got huge problems amongst kids as a whole. I'm on the board, of a company of an organization called YTH, which looks at kids and sexual health and young adults. So you've got all these areas which are really problematic for kids. We know we don't spend very much money on kids compared to the rest of the healthcare system. And yet, we know that what happens when you're, especially in early childhood, is incredibly impactful on the rest of your life and contributions to society or lack of them. So, given that lens, what are you gonna do? But where do you think you can have the biggest impact?
No, it's a great question. It's one of the things that makes me most excited about being here. Everything you just stated, we underinvest in kids. There are big impacts that kids' health and well-being, or especially early in life, can have on everything later in life, and all the things we're seeing in the healthcare system now. So one of the things that's interesting about being in a philanthropic organization is that we have the ability to do this early stage work and effectively develop these programs, systems, products that can help improve kids' health and wellness without being completely captive to or slave to the market being willing to pay for these things right now. So I think part of what we want to do is, and what we've started to do already in the few weeks that I've been here, is go out to the market, go out to the Medicaid, to your point, to the Medicaid managed care plans who have, close to 50% of the kids in the country as their beneficiaries, to go out to children's hospitals who are taking care of kids who have more serious illnesses, to go out to the commercial market that have a lot of kids through employer-sponsored insurance or commercial insurance plans, and really understand where they're interested in and motivated to work on solutions for kids in the short term, in the kind of near term, and then also to try to have a conversation and to try to hopefully be a convener or a thought leader around a conversation about kids in a couple of generations of kids who are digital natives, and how is the healthcare system going to be different? How are we going to respond when we have kids who've grown up using technology in every aspect of their life now entering the healthcare system? And what does that vision look like? So I'm trying to kind of simultaneously go out to the market and understand where we can get some more near-term wins, where we can get people using ZAMZ, where we think about maternity and early childhood, and where technology can really be brought to bear to scale some of the really important efficacious interventions there. I think that's a big opportunity space that we'll be exploring. And then from a more visionary perspective, how do we want to see, and how do we see the healthcare system change as we finally, you and I have been at this for 20 or 30 years now. We're moving into a period where the people who are in the healthcare system, both as providers and as patients, will be very facile with it. We're very familiar with technology, and we'll have, I think, a different approach to using technology in their health and in the kind of healthcare setting.
So if you were to guess, would you say that you're going to be more building new tools and potentially services and integrated with the healthcare system, or more doing sort of basic research and talking about what areas that other people should be working on?
I think that so what we have done in the past, as you indicated earlier, and I reiterated, is we've built the thing. The thing was Remission, the cancer game, the thing was ZAMZ, the physical activity meter. My sense, and some of this is based a little bit on the work that you referred to that I've been doing for the past 5 years, which is finding companies, early stage companies, that we could invest in as a philanthropic entity and try to help those companies move into the safety net. I think we're hoping that one of the things we'll be able to do here at Hopelab is that rather than build everything ourselves, we'll be able to go out and find companies, early stage companies, that have interventions either for kids or that could be very helpful in this children's space. Peer networking solutions, things that are focused on maternity and early childhood, diabetes, other different conditions, specific applications, and think about how to work with those companies in implementations, in pilot settings with provider system partners, bringing in some user-centered design modification, doing the research to look at whether these things are proving to be efficacious, that we will be able to do more of that than just build things ourselves. When we build something ourselves, we're working on one thing at a time. And I think the staff here and I would like to see us working on multiple things and working with partners around the country on different projects. So I'm sensing that we'll try to move in that direction, and we'll try to take advantage of some of the incredible entrepreneurship that's out there. Lots of interest in people in developing things for kids. 400 submissions to the ZAMZ project, and last year at South by Southwest, there was a children's hospital sponsored event that had 150 or 200 applications. So I think if we can get out there into the market and tap some of the things that already have really exciting entrepreneurial leaders and potentially some other investment, and we can bring our set of both our capital and the skills that we have to it, that we can potentially accelerate some of the development of some of those things.
So last thing is, from somebody who's watching this or people who are getting the word about Hopelab, what do you want? What do you want people to come to you to offer and and asked to contribute?
Well, great question. And so I think we want a couple things. One, if those people are from health systems or from payers, we really want to understand, as you think about health and wellness for kids and young adults, or in the case of resilience, as you think about your workforce and what you're trying to cultivate and build in your workforce, where are there pain points that you're really willing and ready to work on now? If you're a great system that has, that has innovative, that's innovative and really wants to experiment, and kind of go down one of these courageous experimentation paths with us, what is it that you want to work on? Where do you have a behavior problem or behavior change challenge that you want to try to tackle? And then I think if you're an entrepreneur and you're building things for kids and young adults, and hopefully if you're doing that, you're doing it with very, very heavy input. Either you are one or you've gotten hopefully you're more than one, but you've gotten input from lots of kids and young adults, and you've got something that you think could be an interesting addition to the market, either as a feature or a product of something that's out there, or as something that's standalone that could have big impact on improving health and wellness. We'd be happy to talk with you. So we're looking really for all parts of the equation. We're looking for particularly for the provider and payer partners that are interested in bringing in some innovation capability and some resources to build out solutions. And then we're interested in people that have solutions that may be really interesting but not quite connected to the market yet. And we can hopefully try to figure out how to make some of those connections. At this point, we're interested in both larger population issues like the pediatric obesity and the physical activity with ZAMZ. When I talk about maternity and early childhood, that would be another big group. But we're also interested, we worked on the project for kids with cancer. I'm really interested in this idea of kids who've had serious illness transitioning to adult care. So how do we think about some of those transitions and the behavior and technology things that could help make those transitions more effective? So lots of potential areas of interest, and we'll spend the next few months really thinking about what those opportunities are and beginning to narrow them down.
Great. So I hope you'll come back in a few months and tell me what you've achieved, what you narrowed down, and what you're doing. But just personally, it's a thrill to see you taking over such a great organization. I hope it's a great move for you. I think it's a great move for Hopelab to have you there, and I'm really thrilled to see what you guys come up with in the future. So I've been talking with Margaret Laws. She's the newish CEO of Hopelab. Margaret, thanks for your time.
Thanks for having me.